What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another Bell Ringer Report here Thursday night, January 25th, powered by the Heat Ratio Sports Network. I'm Dave Gloeckner. We got a full night coming up. That's why I'm jumping on now. Quick minute or two. We got Fourth and Go coming at 10 p.m. tonight. Myself, Mark Thomasine, right after that. Heat Ratio live with Tony Cotillo. As always, 11 p.m. So for the next 2-3 hours, we got you covered. But real fast, Vic Fangio looks like he's going to be the next Eagles defensive coordinator. And talked about it earlier in the week where maybe not recycling an old name was kind of where I was leaning, but I'll take Vic, and I really will. He's had a bunch of success in this league, but what really, is kind of attracting me to his personality is he's a huge Phillies fan. Yes, he's from Pennsylvania, but news coming out is he loves his Phillies. Every single night he wants to know how the Phillies did, won't go to bed without it. So Vic is coming up here with that Philly passion. It excites me. He was in the building, obviously, for the Super Bowl versus Kansas City, trying to craft up a way to help Jonathan Gannon's defense against Patrick Mahomes. He was thought to be a very good candidate then if Gannon moved on, but the way Gannon held things, Fangio went to Miami, didn't think it would be an opening. Then it opens. And then now you hear he gets bought out of Miami. After they had a really good defense, except for the end of the season when they lost two of their star players, Bradley Chubb being one, getting hurt in a game that meant nothing when they were down 30. But Vic brings a lot of potential here. He brings a lot of creativity. I don't want to call it Jim Johnson, but hey, it's going to be something that we really got to keep an eye on. Yeah, the 3-4 defense, I think, it's going to have to change the way they've kind of structured because obviously they built from the line out. And it's great point, C's. Thanks for asking. And, when you have nose tackles like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, it's going to be interesting to see how they do build this kind of new formation. But I've always loved the 3-4. I've always been attracted by the type of pressure you can bring, but you need one of those, what we call edge rushers now, these linebackers. So we'll keep our eye out what they're looking for. Now, in free agency. Now, offensive coordinator-wise, there's 3 names that are being tossed around so far today, interviewing Kellen Moore from the Los Angeles Chargers. I think that's really interesting because obviously Jim Harbaugh signed there yesterday. Probably not going to retain Kellen Moore. Kellen Moore of the Dallas Cowboys, then to Los Angeles Chargers. It's interesting that they reached out there because, got a little bit of a rivalry with Kellen Moore, being a few years in Dallas. But I love it. I love the creativity. Kellen Moore, it was interesting. A lot of people complained about his offense this year because it was it was not downfield enough. But then when he was in Dallas, they said it was too downfield, and McCarthy drug it back in. So it'll be interesting. The other names tossed around, Gerard Johnson, quarterback coach Houston, was interviewed yesterday. Great name. He has a connection to Sirianni. Actually coached on the staff when he was in Indianapolis. We saw what C.J. Stroud did. So the guy deserves to be heard. And then the other one, Cliff Kingsbury. I'll scratch my head there a minute. Air raid offense under Mike Leach had this great college system. Came to NFL. They kind of looked good for a while, but then hit rock bottom, 4-13. Obviously, Jonathan Gannon replaced him in Arizona. And then he takes kind of a sabbatical and ends up in USC. And over there, he's like offensive, assistant and quality control coach. So Cliff Kingsbury, he'll probably bring some creativity, but I'm more in line with the Kellen Moore, Gerard Johnson. Yeah, Byron Leftwich too. His name's been tossed around. I think Eric Bieniemy might also get tossed around too. We're not quite sure what's happening in Washington, but both those names are good. And David, I mean, listen, I spent some time in Arizona. Got some in-laws out there. I didn't quite hear that news, but that would be. I think that's great if that happens because, quite frankly, they just don't support that hockey team like they should down in the desert. And I know the NHL owns Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. So they've probably been looking for a new home for quite some time. They do support their other teams, but just not hockey down in the desert. Ice melts. Yeah, it really does. All right, we'll be back. I'll be back at 10 o'clock in a little bit. Can't wait to see what the Eagles do at offensive coordinator, but I can't wait to see what Mark Thomasini thinks too when we get into it and think, is Vic Fangio a good hire? I'm going out on a limb. I'm saying he is. And then we'll see what they do on offense. See you in a little bit. I'm Dave Gloeckner.